Go live.
And we are like, oh, and Jason gets in the, is it a GIF?
The roll call.
Yes. Nicely
Nice.
done. Good timing, right on
Nicely
time.
done. All right, let's see who we've got here today. We got Kevin and Bruce and Jason and Frank and Jill and Mike and Sandy and Michael. And I saw Frank in the chat room there. Anybody else in here? Yes, Kurt.
Is Wheels here?
Yeah, he was yapping. He asked if there was a show tonight.
Okay.
Possibly John and John as well.
But there will be no
Cron
Rick
job.
tonight. Rick
Nice,
is
Michael.
getting a new puppy.
Aw.
That very cute puppy.
Hope he gives us pictures next time.
Yeah.
All right. Sneaks in. Puppy,
So-
yeah, we'll take that as a good
But
excuse.
before we go on, I have something to bring to you, Podfeet.
Okay, so bring it in, but don't bring it on screen so we can explain the circumstances.
All right.
All right. Oh, and Mr. Ed made it in. Don't spill the beans, Ed. We haven't told the audience what's coming in. All right, so Kevin, as you know, lives in Virginia, and I think he fancies himself a redneck. And as you saw, Steve got him a hat, and actually we gave him a Podfeet mug, but he didn't seem to be interested in showing that off tonight. We thought he'd really like that. But Kevin gave us something very interesting in return. He gave us a jar of peach moonshine. I'm pretty sure we broke some federal laws bringing this across state lines, but we are going to taste it right now.
Your shot.
Okay, Steve, you
I'm
got...
going to go back to my location so I
Oh,
won't
for-
be walking after drinking.
Okay. So I understand this is from... Rose is here. I understand this moonshine is made from corn. This is corn moonshine. I don't know if all moonshine is corn, but this one is.
I think that's most of them, if not all. Okay.
I'm afraid.
No, I'm not going to just
I'm
down.
afraid
I'm going to sip. I'm going to sip. We're
I
not.
was just
we're
going
not
to
shooting
shoot
this.
the whole
You're
thing.
going to shoot it?
No? I mean, this is the stuff that Otis used to drink in Andy and Mayberry, right?
Yeah, I don't think his was peach. I think technically
Oh,
raw
it smells
moonshine really
good.
doesn't have flavor if it's coming right off the still.
This is, it smells like peaches and cinnamon.
Cinnamon, yeah. Good cinnamon flavor. I love cinnamon. All right.
All right. Should we do it?
Cheers, NosillaCastaways.
All right.
And
1,
Kevin,
2,
thank
3.
you.
Down the hatch.
That's
Oh,
tasty.
that's actually pretty good.
That's smooth. I thought it was going to be a much stronger.
Yeah, I thought I'd be
kick.
going after drinking it. It tastes like a peach pie.
Yeah, it does.
I kind of like it.
Very good. Mm-mm.
Yum. You drink it and you'll run into the corn, Frank says. Kickapoo Joy Juice? Kurt, what are you drinking? Wait, I started to drool a little bit. Imported from West Virginia.
There we go. No, it's not rum. Why is the rum gone?
All right. It is tasty.
Good stuff. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. I have done
Very much appreciated.
It's sweet.
It is.
It is making me drool a little bit. Let me close the door.
I
again.
think that's covering up the alcohol taste, the sweetness in the cinnamon, so it's probably a little bit dangerous too.
You think?
Yeah.
I've got the jar. The only thing is, there we go. There's the jug. I can't pour it from this because it turns out you can't pour from a jar like this into something like this.
Did you
spill any?
I used a funnel.
Did you?
I didn't want to waste a drop.
Kurt says drooling is gonna be the least of your problems. Yeah, Ed is claiming he's gonna bring us some peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah. Have a little jelly with that, and you got a drink.
All right, I think I'm ready to go, Steve.
All right. Let's do this.
Okay, I got to drink some water. I really am drooling. Oh, it's good on ice cream. I bet this moonshine would be good on ice cream too with the peach flavor.
Probably would be.
All All
Ed,
right,
you
I'm gonna
might
mute
you might
Steve.
be having a little taste of that when you're over.
Now the funnel is melted. Okay, I'm going to mute Steve. I got to start. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, September 19th, 2021, and this is show number 854. Time for a chapter mark and a save.
Yep, most definitely.
NosillaCast, there we go. NCEP, semicolon, save. All right. It's weird that I stop right away, but otherwise I can't. Nope, you blew it. You already blew it, Allison. You blew it. Got to go like this, so you can go like this, so you can go over here, so you can mash down all the keys.
Mash
for
down
Mike.
all the keys. That's when I know you're doing it right.
Okay, I didn't hear the... it's very quiet. There we go.
That's looking good.
It's a beautiful thing. It truly is. All right. And then we're going to go here. All right. This week's episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond is another episode of Programming by Stealth. It's episode 125 of Programming by Stealth, and it is the final episode before we launch into the back end of web development with PHP. In this episode, Bart finishes his mini-series on Chez Moi to allow us to manage our dot files. He teaches us how to effectively manage our dot files on multiple computers using templating to ensure that the correct settings end up on every computer. You can find this episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond or Programming by Stealth, depending on how you want to look for it, in your podcatcher of choice. And of course, there's a link in the show notes to Bart's fabulous tutorial show notes. Well, that was smooth.
So are you going to put a link in for the next one?
Yeah, I might.
I think Rob would appreciate
You'll find out.
that.
What's that?
I think Rob would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm going to do a bunch of plugs here. Let's see. I think I have my sound effects turned way down because it's real quiet. Oh, hurry, copy, or his...
Sound Source will help you
timeout.
with that.
Yeah, I should change it because I could just barely hear it. Let's crank that way up. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so here we go. Last week on the NosillaCast, actually, no, hang on. I have a couple of other really fun things to plug. Last week on the NosillaCast, you heard Rob Dunwood talking about his new podcast called The Tech Jawn. That's JAWN. And it's a show with Terrence Gaines and Stephanie Humphrey. It has now officially gone live with episode 0 that was originally in the Daily Tech News Show Experiment Week and an all-new episode recorded just this week. If you'd like to hear the weekly tech headlines delivered from a fresh perspective of diverse voices covering how tech affects African Americans, I highly recommend you check out The Tech Jawn in your podcatcher of choice, or of course follow the link in the show notes to thetechjawn.com. All right, I got another one.
For people that didn't notice, Rob was one of the fellows that we met with on our trip last week, along with the other SMR guys. Rod and Chris.
Yeah, we had met Rob a few times before.
Yeah, good point. We had already met him in person. Chris was the one we had.
Okay, another plug. Here's another thing to listen to. You know I love the Clockwise podcast, and I especially love to be on the show with Dan Morin and Micah Sargent. The only thing better than that is when you play an episode and you suddenly hear that Bart Busschots is on the show. Check out episode number 415 of Clockwise, where he and Heather Kelly talk about tech emergency preparedness, thoughts on cashierless stores, and whether they would add digital IDs to their Apple wallets. You can find the link to the show notes or to the show in the show notes. And of course, you can find Clockwise in your podcatcher of choice. I have a fourth one.
I don't see a fourth one in the post.
Yeah, story issue Granny never told.
Got it. There we go.
Copy link. Copy. It's going to be a lot of links. That's 4 so far. There are 4 lights. All right, here we go. Oh, nope. Okay, I promise this is the last thing I'm going to plug before we fully get started in the show. You may remember me talking about the marvelous podcast, Stories Your Granny Never Told by Docky Nick. Okay. Is this really going to my head? I can't talk. Here we go. Okay, I promise this is the last thing I'm going to plug before we get started into the show. You may remember me talking about the marvelous podcast, Stories Your Granny Never Told by Dr. Nikki Ackermans. I got to be a guest on the show a while ago, and the other guests and their stories have been truly wonderful. One of my favorites was episode 2, where she interviews her own grandpa and how he went to war in the jungles of Papua New Guinea and ended up whale watching with Clint Eastwood in Alaska. This month's show is very special to me, as she played a recording I had made many years ago for Chit Chat Across the Pond. My father was in World War II and was serving on an LST ship and got caught in a huge typhoon in Okinawa. My dad wrote a letter to my parents to his parents, I should say, telling them all about the experience of having his ship wrecked on the shore and so many other ships wrecked. And I had the great honor of having noted voiceover artist Ron David read that letter to the audience. Now, you may not know Ron David's name, but if you watched Raise the Titanic on National Geographic or Wings on the Discovery Channel, you definitely know his voice. Anyway, Nikki was on vacation in France this month, so playing this wonderful recording for her show worked out perfectly and gives me another chance to let people hear my father's words. You can find this episode of Stories Your Granny Never Told in your podcatcher of choice or at storiesyourgrannynevertold.com. There we go.
Do you want me to fix that, his parents versus my parents?
Let me go ahead and do it, but thank you for reminding me. I think there was another mistake. Wrote a letter to his parents. That would make way more sense. You said I was done with mistakes.
I actually didn't do any. I just was checking links. I was not checking spelling or context.
There were about 11. I finally asked Steve, could he just tell me what I got right in the blog? So, all right. He was mistaken. Who was mistaken? Oh, Steve was mistaken that I didn't make any more mistakes.
That is
right,
really
we need another chapter.
A great story told by your dad and spoken by Ron David. It's you really can feel the moment your dad felt.
Yeah, I didn't realize that my dad was that great of a storyteller, and I just found the letter in his papers after he passed away. I'd heard the story of it several times, real time, but as he told it in life. But reading what he wrote on that night was pretty crazy. Oh, good, Michael. I think it's going to be. I think it's really neat. And Ron David does just a fabulous telling of it. He did that for me for free, by the way. He did not charge me for that. There's the mug. Actually, that's 2 mugs. Get it?
Yep.
I'm adding a chapter mark.
NosillaCast mug. Oh, let's check this.
5.
Wow, you're gonna be link heavy.
Oh, you're about halfway finished with that episode? Oh, good, Sandy. Glad you like it. Yeah, it was really, really a neat thing. It was kind of a dream of mine for a long time. It took us over a year to get it done between me and Ron. Okay. Here we go. Steve muted himself. Okay, let's finally kick into the real show. By now, you've all either watched the Apple event this week, or you've heard commentary, or you've read the details of the announcements. I'm absolutely not going to cover every detail ad nauseum, but I do have a few observations that I'd really like to share. I continue to be really happy that Apple has an entry-level iPad that is really capable. This year, they brought a couple of things to this device that I think makes it even more compelling. With the announcement of the 5th generation iPad Pro earlier this year, Apple introduced a technology they call Center Stage. Now, when they introduced it, I was completely unimpressed, but it's actually really amazing. With Center Stage, Apple uses the wide-angle camera and then zooms in on you as the subject of the call. Because it's zoomed in on the view it's capturing, it can pan around the view as you move. This is not a mechanical zoom and pan. It's taking that larger view and cropping to zoom in. In that way, if you move, it can move with you, but if someone joins you in front of the camera, it'll zoom back out, uncropping, if you will, to show both of you. Now, this sounds like a gimmick, but it is so compelling that I find myself starting and joining FaceTime calls and Zoom calls from my iPad rather than my phone or my Mac because it's such a cool effect. For $329, the iPad Nothing continues to be a very compelling product at a great price, especially now that it has the new center stage capability. Now, I have an iPad mini and it has one single job, and that's to act as a control center for the app Steve and I use to manage our live show. That didn't keep me from buying a new one when Apple announced it this week. Now, you know I'm a fan of Apple Pencil, so I was excited to see the Mini get Gen 2 Pencil support. With this upgrade, you will always have your pencil with you because it sticks to it. I know that seems like a small thing, but it's actually a huge thing. If it's not right there and charged, I find I simply won't use the pencil. Now, this week, I'm working on a Screencast Online tutorial about Joplin, and I discovered on iPad mini when I was doing the demo that it supports Apple Scribble technology, so I can handwrite with pencil and have it appear as real text. That's huge because typing on that tiny little screen is a real chore. Now, I'm not saying the new iPad mini is going to change my life, but it was available for order on day one, so that might have had something to do with me buying it in purple. Okay. Tesla is snoring, and Steve is sneezing, and my door's open again because a cat opened the door. So I'm going to swap this animal out and close the door again. Okay, come on. Let's go. Go in there with Steve.
Come on, Tess. Come here, girl. There. Okay, you just calm down here. Just lay down here.
Poor Tesla.
I had muted, by the way.
Yeah, but I could hear you through the door because the cat opened the door.
Through the door.
So
wow.
I closed the door, and then you opened it for the Moonshine, and then I got up and I closed it again, but I wasn't pushing it all the way closed, and so the cat opened the door. So, okay.
Yeah, a little known fact here in the Sheridan household is that our cats freely push the door open when it's ajar, but Tesla has no idea how to get a door open, even if it's say 4 or 5 inches open. She will not push her head through. It's the weirdest thing.
It's like, I'm baffled. I don't know how to go through this.
It's too small. I can't fit my body through there. The cat's just push.
So funny. On the other hand, Lindsay's dog Dodger, Steve had to change the back door handle from being a lever to being one of the circular ones because he kept opening the door and getting out. But it actually helped one time. Completely off topic here, but it actually saved something one time. Forbes's other grandmother, Terry, was taking care of Forbes in Lindsay and Nolan's house. And she went outside and accidentally closed the door. Somebody was coming, like an electrician or something. She had to go talk to him. So she went outside. She closed the door behind her. The door was locked, and her phone was inside the house with the baby. So he was very young at the time. He was like 2 years old. And she got Dodger to open the door for her. And by the way, this is a lever that he had to pull towards him. It's not like he turned the lever and pushed. He had to turn it and pull it towards him, and she got him to let her into the house.
So he also understands commands pretty well.
Yeah, Tessa's over there going, I can't figure it out, and it's a jar. Poor Tesla. She's a good dog.
You're a good dog.
Dumb as
Pretend you didn't hear that.
All right. Okay, we're done with the iPad mini. Let's move along here. Okay, Steve is muted. Oh, thanks, Ed. Let's move on to the Apple Watch Series 7. I was really hoping the rumors were true that the Series 7 watch would come with squared off sides, but only because I wanted it to look new. In fact, I suspect it would be a less comfortable form factor with square edges. It was interesting that Apple specifically said a softer, more rounded edge, probably to point out why they went farther away from a squared off edge towards a rounded edge. Now, Apple Series 7 will have a 20% more screen real estate, and that should really be a noticeable increase. Now, it's not as big as the leap we got from Series 3 to 4, which was a 35% increase, but I will still take as much usable screen area as I possibly can get. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's about the only thing that really is exciting. But hey, it's going to look new. When I look down on my watch, it's going to look different. So that's exciting. Now, I know Apple loves to say things. Actually, no, I'm going to. I have just a couple of comments about the iPhone 13. Now, I know Apple loves to say things like 15.8 trillion operations per second, but I'm not sure that's why anybody buys a new phone. Even saying things like 30% faster 4-core GPU doesn't really blow my dress up. What absolutely did blow my dress up was when they said they were bringing sensor shift, I'll say that again, sensor shift to the camera on all models of iPhone 13. Sensor shift means that the sensor itself will mechanically compensate for your hand shaking when trying to take photos. This technology was only available in the Max version of iPhone last year. I found a fantastic video breakdown of an iPhone 12 and Max by Jerry Rig Everything, in which he got all the way down to the cameras and he explained how they work. So this is looking at the Max from last year and its sensor shift versus the iPhone 12 with just the regular optical image stabilization. So while the iPhone 12 non-Max version does have optical image stabilization, they do it by allowing the entire camera to passively float, which does help a lot with shaky hands. With sensor shift, though, actually, I'm not sure it's passively. I'm going to say that again. I might be wrong about it being. So while the iPhone 12 non-Max version does have optical image stabilization, they do it by allowing the entire camera to float, which does help a lot with shaky hands. With sensor shift, though, they're actively measuring the jiggle and compensating for that jiggle using tiny magnets and coils to move just the sensor to compensate for the motion. Now, I spent a good chunk of my career designing steering mirrors to compensate for motion in just this very matter. My steering mirrors, though, were tiny, but nothing like what Apple is doing here. As Jerry describes in his video breakdown, the magnets are the size of ants. Now, Jerry explains that optical image stabilization at the camera level can compensate for motion at up to 1,000 adjustments per second. But by moving the much tinier and lighter sensor alone, as it will be in the 13 and it was in the Max, it can react at 5,000 times per second. So it's going from 1,000 adjustments per second to 5,000 adjustments per second. Now, I'm not sure I need 5,000 adjustments per second because I've got fairly steady hands, but I've seen some examples that suggest it can really help. Now, sadly, sensor shift, for some reason, is only on the wide camera. That's the regular one, if you will, not the ultra-wide, not the telephoto, the middle one. And I think that's really a shame because the other probably bigger difference with iPhone 13's camera is that it now sports a 3x telephoto instead of 2x. I know people are wild about the ultra-wide lens for landscape photography, but I just don't take many photos in ultra-wide. I take far more photos in telephoto than wide, so I'm super excited about a 3x optical telephoto. So I'm really curious why they put sensor shift in the wide lens instead of the telephoto, because that's where the effect of shaky hands is more magnified. Oh well. Now, another camera feature that I'm really looking forward to is the new macro capability. If you haven't played around with macro photography before, the thing you're looking for in the specs is how close you can get to the subject with the camera lens. If you're trying to get a crisp focus on a murder hornet's wings, you need to be able to get really close. The iPhone 13 will be able to focus down to 2 centimeters from your subject, that's less than an inch. That's really, really good. The new macro capability in the ultra-wide lens at f1.8 on a phone's camera will be amazing. And you can use it in video and slow-mo photography. Now, I may not come up with anything amazing with that, but I bet we will see some amazing stuff on the internet shot with this camera. Now, Apple also announced cinematic mode for video, which pretty much looks like witchcraft to me. They demonstrated how you could set the focus on one person, but if they look away, the focus changes to the subject of their vision. That's crazy pants. Really? Anyway, I doubt I'm ever going to use it, but it sure does make the iPhone's camera an even more compelling tool for real videographers. Now, people have been clamoring for a 120 Hertz refresh rate, and while that was a huge leap up on my TV screen, I'm not sure I'm going to notice it on my phone. Apple didn't ever specifically say 120 hertz in their demo. Rather, they showed that the frame rate adapts depending on what you're doing so they can save battery. And in the video, you could see it went up to 120 hertz at times. But when you didn't need 120 hertz, it stayed down low. And in fact, went really, really low. Again, I bet I'm never going to notice this. Now, the longer battery life, 2.5 hours longer than the full-size 12, sounds awesome. It does come at a cost, though, as the iPhone 13 Pro weighs 6% more than the 12. But that seems like a small price to pay. Anyway, because it was iPhone and Apple Watch announcement week, both of my devices have started dying around 8 p.m. I assume they'll automatically go back to normal now that the announcement has come out. None of the devices Apple announced this week are game changers if you have last year's models, but they're all faster, they all have brighter screens, some have more screen real estate, and they continue to outpace their rivals if you look at the specs and believe their claims. That's good enough for me. There we go.
So I have a
120
question.
hertz is for gamers? What?
So you mentioned you can use this new macro capability in video and slow-mo photography.
Did I say photography? Well,
maybe video and slow-mo and photography?
yeah, it should have been video and slow-mo. Should have just stopped at slow-mo. I bet I could pull out the word photography. Nah, nobody else is going to care.
All right.
Yes, your
Do you want me
your nit is successfully picked.
picked? Should I edit out photography?
Sure.
All right.
You got to say videography, though.
Yes.
You can't just say and slow-mo. So video and slow-mo videography.
Videography.
It's going to sound redundant.
No, you can say that the slow-mo is modifying videography.
Do whatever you want. The only question that matters, have you ordered a new phone? Yeah. Actually, Steve is taking one for the team. He ordered a new one because we just discovered that Nolan has Lindsay's husband has an iPhone 10. That's a 4-year-old phone now. That he must think we don't even love him. Okay, where am I? Okay, 1Password. We're going to talk 1Password again. Now we're looking for nits to pick. All right, here we go. Doing a chapter mark. What is this, 6, 7? Beep, beep, beep. Gosh, I love that. Hey, Mike, did you put in the Ecobee yet? We got a new air conditioning and heater system in the house, and it has a proprietary thermostat, unfortunately. So I had to give up my precious Ecobee. So I sent it to Mike. I thought it was the least I could do after how much productivity and lack of keystrokes I have to do now because of his wonderful macro. All right, you got a cold? Okay. We'll let you off the hook. Okay. This could be a love fest for 1Password. What is that? The $6 million man? Why would he have done that? Oh, yeah. What does yellow light mean? Slow down. Okay. Ready. Remember a few weeks back, I talked to you about 1Password and their move to an Electron app and how the Mac internet lost its collective ever-loving mind about feeling abandoned, and I didn't see why? When I published my blog post, I included on the tweet about it AgileBits founder and author of 1Password, Dave Tier, along with Michael Fay, the author of one of their blog posts I'd referenced in my article. Now, as you might imagine, my blog post made Dave Tier pretty happy after a couple of weeks of pure anger from the internet. Because I tweeted in this way, including him on my tweet, I became part of a few threads Dave had with other customers, and as a result, I got to see how Dave responded to his customers. One thread became very interesting, and I'd like to read it to you. The conversation was between Dave and a gentleman named Christian. I don't know Christian, and he's not a huge influencer of any sort. He's just a customer. Christian first responded to my tweet back to Dave by writing, "Unsubscribed after many years, trying LastPass." Now, Dave could have simply ignored Christian, but instead this is what he wrote back. I'm sorry to hear this. What part of 1Password 8 scared you away? In any event, I hope we can win you back someday. I thought it was interesting that he would write back to a customer who was obviously angry and leaving anyway. I can only imagine how busy Dave was at that time, and yet he set aside the time to respond to this one voice. I imagine that Christian was probably surprised to hear back from Dave, and it also encouraged him to take a different path than simply leaving 1Password. Christian wrote back, "Okay, I gave it another chance to try the beta, and it does not feel snappy. I'm running on an M1 device. The interface design looks a bit cheap. Saw you improve the speed of the menu when you click the plus button to add a new item. You could really tell it's not a native app." Right away, this told me that Dave taking the attitude that he did was exactly the way to open someone's mind, even if it was just a little bit. Now, Christian wasn't a convert by any means, but he was in the conversation, and he was giving concrete examples of what he didn't like. Dave could have dropped it at this point, but he continued his conversation with Christian. He sent a 2-part tweet to Christian, and unfortunately, I was only able to find part 2, but in that tweet, Dave continued to pursue understanding from Christian. Dave wrote, "Changes to item list scrolling to improve performance there. Where are you seeing things get sluggish? Would be helpful to know where to focus our efforts during the early access beta period to make sure we ship an awesome app when it's ready. Thank you for helping." Think about that. Dave thanked Christian. In a couple of tweets, Dave now has Christian helping him improve the product. Now, Dave genuinely does want Christian's feedback and is encouraging him to continue to provide feedback, while at the same time reminding him and anyone reading along that this is the early access beta period when constructive feedback is most valuable. Christian's next response was interesting. He wrote, "Okay, I continued testing. It's not perfect, but it works. I'm going to keep using 1Password. But if you ever create a native app again, I will move from okay to happy. I miss the bouncing of the app when you type your master password wrong. It feels just static." Isn't that awesome? Dave was able, through being respectful and open to criticism, to turn someone from angry and having left the product to engaged to being a continuing customer. But the story wasn't done yet. Dave wrote back, "Thanks for continuing your testing. We've heard from a lot of people that they want the playfulness back on the lock screen. Saw some internal demos of this in development. I think you'll like the update when it comes out." So how could this be any more awesome? Such a silly little thing as the jiggle when you mistype has gotten into the roadmap just because people enjoy it. I think these little touches are an underlying reason why Apple people are so committed to the platform. It reminds me of the first time I plugged my iPod Nano into my Mac when I opened iTunes, and it showed my iPod as being product red. It absolutely delighted me. It made zero difference to my usability of the product, but it surprised and delighted me. Dave and Christian had one final exchange. Christian responded with, "And good job with the memory management for an Electron app. Microsoft Teams just sucks so badly." Christian, who said he was going to try LastPass and was unsubscribing from 1Password, is now a proponent of 1Password and is very happy. The final word from Dave was, "Thank you. Memory management is one of the reasons we're so excited about Rust." And then he put a crab and a little hugging emoji. I don't know what crab and hugging face means, but I think the story ended well. Now, I'm not sure what lesson you learned from all of this, but I learned that my own approach can be improved in how I engage with people when they're unhappy, and I hope to be more like Dave Tier when I grow up. And no, 1Password did not sponsor this article.
Nice story. And I think I've decoded it. I think the crab plus the huggy, that's the face hugger on Alien. Right? Am I right? I don't know.
Somebody said something.
It's kind of out of context, but
There's a crab video somebody sent me. It was on. Let me check Twitter. It was a music video, and it's got crabs in it, animated crabs. It's just the kind of thing you would like. Let's see, where is it? No. Oh shoot, I lost it.
Is it just
I
crabs?
don't remember who sent it to me. It's a bunch of crabs on an island, and they're dancing, and they're rocking out, and somebody's going to know this one because the video. Yeah, Mike, do you know what it was? It's got like 35 million views. It is a huge video. And somebody thought that might be what they were talking about. Oh, I posted it to Slack?
So Jill thinks maybe he was crabby and now he's huggy.
Oh. Oh, there it is.
Oh.
Oh, well, that's an animated GIF from it. Yeah, Element used to use crabs. No pinch.
No pinch.
Maybe little pinch. Yeah.
Right.
Steve
That was pretty
loved
funny.
that commercial. He loved that. He would always walk around going, no pinch. Maybe little pinch. That's funny. All right.
Now we got crabs all over the place. Can't get rid of them.
Those GIFs, those are from this music video. But why would it have a crab and hugging at the same time? Maybe it was happy. That's like Happy Dance.
And
All
what
right.
is and Rust refers to
Rust is a programming language or
That-
platform or
that they
development
use-
environment.
and this is the one that's
The-
cross-platform.
So Electron is what you're thinking about. That's the cross-platform-ness, but Rust is a language, is a programming language, and libraries and such.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't have a funnel. I do need more.
Just drink out of the whole mason jar.
Yeah, this is single serving, right? Oh, there it is. Yeah, Monster Cat Instinct.
Huh.
Steve, copy that link. Don't watch it during the show.
Okay.
Okay, there it is. It eliminates most of the memory management issues that cause bugs in C and C++. Okay, thanks, Bruce. It is a single serving. Okay, I got to finish before I get drunk. Okay,
Wrap this
muting
up.
Steve. Well, I got to do, what am I doing? Spam. Okay, how do I pronounce this name? I think it's going to be just Genvik. Whoops, that's not what I said. This name. I'm going to go with Genvik. Hopefully that's right.
Close enough.
This week's hero of the Podfeet podcast is Tim Genvik, our newest patron. Imagine the delight that Tim felt when he had the joy of going to podfeet.com/Patreon and pledging a dollar amount that he felt reflected the value he gets out of the shows we produce here. He probably felt marvelous knowing he was helping to keep the Podfeet podcast ad-free. You too can feel marvelous like Tim and be one of our heroes. Now, Christoph Trush also came in with what he calls his quarterly payment, where he uses PayPal to send a donation every 3 months. This is a great way to support the show because it helps me to remember to keep thanking him for his generous support. He does this by going to podfeet.com/PayPal and putting in a reminder in his calendar. I just want to do a big shout out and many thanks to Tim and Christoph for their support of the shows we do here. I need to look into that Patreon thing someday. All right. Let's see. I think it's time for security bits. I only talked for 18 minutes. Oh, well. I have to save enough for next week because we're going to see Forbes and Sienna again.
Don't forget your link.
You mean that one?
That one. There you go.
Here. That's what Forbes does. Frank had to sell his kidney. That was to buy a new Mac, though, wasn't it? All right. What am I looking for? Security bits. Where's security bits? There it is. Click the link, man. Okay, and now I got to bring in a couple of recordings here. Bart and I have really got it down lately with, we both record, we both remember to do test recordings, and then he drops the file in, and I get his file, and we've got it nailed. It's just nice. Was Podfeet selling for my new iPad mini? Oh, I'm sorry. You forgot to put in an order for that. You said you wanted a MacBook Air. When is your MacBook Air coming? Do you know about tracking it with, oh wait, Steve likes to hear plink. Blink. There. Don't want to miss it. What was I saying? I was saying something to Kevin. I need more moonshine. Oh,
Tracking with UPS.
Tracking with UPS. Yeah, I learned that there's a way to track with UPS from that Mark Pauly taught us. Even before you get a shipping notice, you can actually track it on UPS, if UPS is who's going to send it to you.
As soon as it's in UPS's system.
Yeah, so if you have, what do you have to, what's it called? My UPS or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an account. You have to set up an account. But it's free, it's easy.
If you do that, then you can actually track it, like I said, before it shows up.
In Apple's system.
Yeah. Okay, how's that look? No, that's not going to be soon enough. Let's see, let's put it right here. I know where Steve likes it. Why is the audio level so low? Let's go up some. My level should be more up there. Okay. MyUPS.com. It tells you the tracking number. That's the cool thing. You don't have to have a tracking number from Apple. You can find it in there. You'll see that something's being shipped and you'll see it's from China. And then you can see it moving around and going to Alaska and then suddenly deciding to go to Florida for a couple of weeks, stop by Russia, and then come back.
In other words, any device that is being shipped to you appears as soon as it enters UPS's system, even before you have the tracking number. You don't have to have the tracking number to see it show up.
Yeah,
but they have a table of all devices being or all items being shipped.
So, Kevin, you don't have to wait for the shipment notification. That's the point, is it's before. You'll see it moving around in UPS long before Apple sends you the shipment. Because you usually get that like a day or two before. You can watch it 4 or 5 days early.
So, Sandy, I'm not sure it's as soon as it's shipped. It's as soon as it's received into FedEx's system.
No, UPS.
I'm sorry, UPS's system. So,
yeah,
I don't know. They may go out of the door in China, out of the factory, and not be in UPS's system. But as soon as it is, you can see it.
All right, let me listen to this. Get ready to judge, Steve. Support of the shows we do here. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for security.
That's good.
Loud.
Timing's
good.
It's
a miracle. All right, let me check. Security bits with Bart Boost Shots. How are you today, Bart?
I am grand. I just had myself, I've earned myself some extra.
All right. Actually, this is a good story. I've earned myself some extra
calories for dessert today because I had my whole day planned out, and I gave myself 5 minutes of spare on my cycle that I had planned. And I was exactly halfway from home, the furthest point of my route, and I met a sign that said, "Road closed, diversion, turn left."
Oops.
I know that other road. That's the road I got hit by a van on. I hate that other road, and that other road is 15 minutes longer, and I have 5 minutes of spare. But I got home on time, because I went like a bat out of hell.
I've been meaning to ask you, and this is a very odd time to ask you, but I keep forgetting anyway. When you got hit by the van, did your watch call emergency services?
It offered to, and I, in foolishly, went, no, I'm fine.
Oh, you did not. Jeez. Okay, the watch can't fix stupid.
Nope.
Okay, how's that?
That's pretty good.
I can't believe he didn't. I mean, he was seriously injured. He had, he hit on his solar plexus. He was in really bad shape.
Line is always the same. Stay patched, so you stay secure.
This was the shortest security bits we've ever had. It was 33 minutes.
Wow.
It's a world record. No, he didn't call. No, he told it he was fine. All right, muting Steve. Well, that's going to... What is that doing? That didn't look right. Did I? Maybe I wasn't wide enough. It looked like it was going forward and back and forward and back, forward and back. Well, okay, now I'm in the wrong window. Stop it. This time I mean it. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions. Everything is Fiddly recordings, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. and you can follow me on Twitter at Podfeet. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. What was his name? God, why can't I remember anything? His name was Tim. Starting again. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions. We have not had a dumb question in a long time. I would like some dumb questions. These are the ones that it just sound like you're really dumb, but it's just something that you don't know and maybe somebody else knows and you can get the answer to your question. Don't make them really hard ones. They're supposed to be dumb questions. Anyway, send those, your Everything is Fiddly recordings, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Podfeet. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. You want to be cool like Tim? Go to podfeet.com/Patreon and become a patron of the Podfeet podcast. Or do you want to be cool like Christoph and do one-time payments or even quarterly like him? Go to podfeet.com/PayPal. If you want to join in the conversation, we have a lot of fun over in Slack at podfeet.com/Slack. Or if you like Facebook, we have a group there too, podfeet.com/Facebook. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And you might see us drink Moonshine given to us by Kevin on our trip out to Virginia. But you can always join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Didn't answer any of the dumb questions in person. Boy, I really just chattered away there. Look at that. Solid talking. All righty. And NosillaCast outro. Is it this one? Yeah, it's that one I like. And win a Tesla. Yes. Tesla dog, maybe. No, I wouldn't give it. I'd give away my car before I'd give away Tesla. Would you, Steve?
Yeah. We're keeping Tesla.
Castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
I think you can bring that in a little sooner.
Yeah, it looked a little late to me too. Now the cats, on the other hand, I'm not sure. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Too soon?
Close.
No, I was too soon.
Too soon.
Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Okay. We'll live with that.
All right. Save. Okay, chapter mark count. Are you ready?
Hold on.
Why is
I'm
it
not
assigning
ready.
me Now?
Okay, go.
I don't know. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep. 7 it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All
We're
right,
good.
pushing export. And save. Oh, Jill, I sent you an email about something interesting. Time for another drink. Well, I don't have a funnel. I would drink some more, but I mean, I could just like try to dip it in. I don't.
Yeah, you want me to pour you another one?
No, it was not fishing, Jill. I could try pouring it on my desk. Let's see if it
No,
works.
no. Here, let me pour it for you.
Ha! Didn't spill it. Well,
And-
cheers. It self-sterilizes if you drink from the jar. You don't want any, Steve?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I think, man, I'm going to let class out early.
Yeah. I think you wrapped it up nicely.
Unless there's anything else anybody else wants to cover. Wants to wait and see whether the effects are increasing. If this is really high alcohol content, it is really well hidden because it does not taste like it. Do you know? Do you have any idea, Kevin? Come on, Wingman, one more. Steve, are you checking?
After the show.
It's growing on me. Like I said, it's very sweet. Very, very sweet. Let's see. I'm working on the show here. Upload. That's the right show. NC Ep. Be careful standing up. I should put the lid on this so it doesn't evaporate. Steve had a bottle of Everclear that he used to just let people smell, and we never drank it that I know of, and it was eventually empty.
Well,
Okay,
very low.
NosillaCast. No, it was gone.
We must have left it open.
Maybe. All right. Well, I think we're winding up here. I think it's time to say goodbye. Rose is in the audience, so I'm going to kiss her goodbye. Bye, Rose. Oh, happy birthday tomorrow, Rose. In fact, it might already be Rose's
it
birthday
probably
in
is
Australia.
tomorrow today.
It is. Happy birthday, Rose. Is she still here?
She's. Oh man, she was.
She's
just
always
here.
stealth. I think she's widget bot, isn't she?
No, she was in the sidebar. I just don't see her now.
I never saw her in the sidebar. Well, I'll take a screenshot and send it to her. All right.
All right.
I'm ready to call it.